Good morning everyone. I'm here again with another video for class 8th English subject, and the name of the chapter is The Treasure Within. In this chapter we are going to study about a small interview that was between Miss Bela and Mr. Hafeez. Now let us know about these two characters. Miss Bela, she is the editor of a newsletter in Bangalore. Now we call it Bengaluru. And Mr. Hafeez, a contractor and also a famous architect. Now here in this interview, we are going to learn an important lesson that Mr. Hafeez's life is going to teach us. So let us begin. Before we start with the conversation that was between Mr. Hafeez and Miss Bela, let us look this picture. Here an interview is going on. We have two persons. Whenever an interview begins, it is all about your introduction. And before that, good evening ma'am, good evening sir, hello ma'am, and in this way interview begins. Why people conduct an interview? An interview is conducted so that we can get to know about the interviewee. The person who is taking the interview is known as the interviewer, and the person sitting on another side, he is known as the interviewee. Here in this chapter, The Treasure Within, you people must be confused that here I am talking about an interview. But if we see the title of the chapter, it is quite different. What is that? The Treasure Within. So here the chapter must have some element that consists of or should talk about some treasure, and that treasure should be within us. But friends, after this video you'll get the clarity that why the chapter is highlighted here and it is named The Treasure Within, and here this image drawn of an interview, how these two things are connected. So let us begin now. The chapter starts with an interview between Mr. Hafeez and Miss Bela. Miss Bela is here to take an interview of Mr. Hafeez, who is an architect. Miss Bela, she wants to know about Mr. Hafeez's school life. Miss Bela is asking him, tell us something about your school life, your memories related with your school. Mr. Hafeez begins. He is telling about his school life. Mr. Hafeez was not a very good student if we talk about studies. According to his teachers, Hafeez was a good student when he was in class 1 and 2. Later on, until class 11th, he was not at all good at studies. He was more interested in playing. He used to play every game. He used to enjoy time making pranks, playing jokes on others. He was not at all interested in studies. But then came a turning point in his life. And what was that? An advice given to him by his principal. One day, principal called Mr. Hafeez, who was a small boy at that time. He told Mr. Hafeez, son, I have seen you from the day one. You are a good student, but you are not paying attention towards your studies. Your mother is working so hard, paying all your fees. But what about you? you are not at all sincere towards your studies. It's high time to concentrate on your studies. Friends, after this advice given to him by principal, and today he is telling this episode to Miss Bela, that how his life was changed with a simple advice given to him by his school principal. Later on, Hafeez focused his attention towards his studies. No more roaming around here and there. No more spending time just in playing. He was sincere enough towards his studies, and what was his aim and what was his routine? He was just focused towards his studies. Second thing, he used to pray, ate food and back to his studies. And later on, he scored 50% in SSC exams. Principal was quite happy, although he scored 50%, but principal told him, consider that you have scored a distinction, because he had put all his efforts. A boy who was just involved in doing just mischievous things, involved just making plans, making strategies, how to make pranks on others. But today he concentrated his energy towards his goal. He was back to studies. Later on, Miss Bela asked Mr. Hafeez, what about punishments? As you were not studying properly in the school, what about the reaction of your teachers and your state of mind? Here, Mr. Hafeez is giving a good explanation about his punishments. He's saying, I was so engrossed with playing, making pranks, enjoying my life, that punishment, I was not very much considered about the punishments which were given to me. For me, it was just lifting hand in front of my teacher and then receiving a cane. And that used to take place every week. But if we talk about his state of mind, here it is depicted that Hafeez was so much involved in his own life, where he is just busy enjoying, playing, doing mischievous things. He also explained that he was in a hostel, and life in a hostel is very difficult. They used to go for a movie every Saturday, and Hafeez was actually the leader of a gang. He used to make plans, strategies, gang fights. He was just involved in all those things. But principal's advice changed Hafeez's life. Later on, Hafeez was asked by Miss Bela that how you entered into the field of architecture. Now Hafeez is telling us how he became an architect. Later on, after his schooling, Hafeez decided to join the army, but he didn't get the consent of his aunt. Later on, he thought to join the police force. His mother disagreed. He was not allowed to be a police officer or go for this police force. Then he took admission for his graduation. He was asked to choose a subject as language, like he can study French or German. He decided to study German. Later on, his German teacher died and he opted for French language. He was not at all interested and he was not aware of French language, and for that he used to visit some architect's office. Actually, Hafeez's cousin's husband was an architect, and his cousin was also helping him to study French language. One day when he visited that architect's office, and there he found that a person was drawing a design of a window. Hafeez was smart enough. He noticed that the drawing was not complete. It was incorrect. There was some fault in that design. And students, it is important to know the fact that to design a window is not an easy job. But Hafeez was able to find a fault, a mistake in that drawing. Now, the person who was an architect at that time, he was surprised. And then that architect told Hafeez to draw some other things. He was also asked to draw a house. And Hafeez did it immediately. That architect was surprised and he realized that Hafeez was having a talent, a spark in him, and he suggested him to join the College of Architecture. There, one thing was mandatory, that if you want admission in that college, you should score 80-85%. And then the principal of that college asked for entrance test, and Hafeez scored an A grade, A+ grade. From that day, he stood first throughout, and here his journey of architecture life begins. Later on, Hafeez was able to become an efficient architect. Now, Miss Bela was very much fascinated by Mr. Hafeez, how a boy who was not very good at studies, but then he used to spend his time drawing sketches, everything, and then his life had a big change. He became a famous architect. Hafeez is also telling to Bela that once my school teacher, Mrs. Gupta, she told me after seeing my sketches, Hafeez, you are not good in studies, but you make very good sketches. Later on in future, you can be a good architect. And now, when Hafeez was an architect, he decided to visit Mrs. Gupta. Here, life has changed. So many things happened. If we talk about Hafeez's school life and his present state, where he is an architect. Hafeez is also telling to Miss Bela that during his school life, he used to draw sketches. He was having one friend and both of them used to play. They used to draw different designs of guns, ammunition, as just a fun for them. But from there, he was inspired and he became a perfectionist in drawing designs. And later on, when he selected this profession, he became a master of drawing sketches. He also explained that in the school, what used to have, like people or students over there, they used to come to him if somebody lost a button. And Hafeez was smart enough to draw a button from chalk. So, this shows that Hafeez was talented and he was more interested. Suppose if there is rain or rainy day is there, then Hafeez was more interested to think about water flow, to think how to construct a dam. This shows that Hafeez's interest, his choices was totally different. He wanted to achieve something else and he was able to decide what he wanted in his life. And in this way, he was able to become a very famous architect. At the end of the interview, Miss Bela asked, okay, but how do you think and how you design for your clients? Hafeez gives us another interesting thing for all of us, how he used to design. Hafeez replied, I observe my client carefully. The way my client is eating, he is behaving, his clothes, everything, and I am able to understand his taste, and later on I design very naturally. This shows that Hafeez, although he was a perfectionist, he was also enjoying his profession, and for him this is something like mathematics to him. Actually, Hafeez was scared of mathematics. He used to have nightmares that he is appearing for maths exam and he is blank. But later on, he gave a different definition of mathematics. And what was that? For him, mathematics means all construction, psychology, sociology, all combined together, then making sketches out of this, and finally this is the definition given by Mr. Hafeez. And here we reached to that point, to that circle where we found that Mr. Hafeez was having his own interpretation of mathematics. He combined the subject he was not interested in and the subject he loves to deal with. So here the chapter comes to an end, and this was the last conversation of this interview between Hafeez and Miss Bela. Students, what lesson do we get from this chapter? One should follow his heart. One should follow his own interests. It is not that if you want to be successful in your life, then you need to score in 90s or you should be very good in your studies. No, you can follow your own dream. You can have your own profession out of your hobby, and that is what Hafeez has done, because in the school Hafeez was just involved, busy playing, enjoying, playing different games and doing sketching, and all those sketches. Today Hafeez is known as a famous architect, and that was the treasure hidden within Mr. Hafeez. I hope you understood how this interview between Miss Bela and Hafeez are connected with the name of the chapter, The Treasure Within. So now the need of the hour is to search for the treasure hidden within us. Thank you so much. Have a good day.